afternoon. Thank you for coming today. Today's seminar is going to be all about you. You know, a lot of times when we work on a puzzle, we try to complete the outside pieces first. And we do that so that the inside pieces, the ones that are harder, when we get to the nuts and bolts of things, we have a framework to work around. Nobody thought planning their funeral would be easy. But today, we're going to make it fun because we're going to concentrate on you first. The first thing we'd like to do is we want to begin talking about you. We want to think about something. Think about one thing that you would like your grandchildren or your family or your friends to remember you by. One thing such as, do you bake the most fabulous apple pies? Do you love the color blue? Do you enjoy the circuses? Do you collect precious moments? What one thing is it that you would like your family to remember you by? You all have the sheet in front of you. So let's take the moment and write down the one thing that you would like your family to remember you by. Now, for instance, if that thing is blue, because you love blue, let's talk about how we're going to celebrate you. If you had a big party and it was to be all about you, and your favorite color was blue, wouldn't we ask everybody to wear blue or to bring blue? Or wouldn't you want the room to be decorated in blue? Let's talk about that now. How can we incorporate things that you want your family to remember you by into your celebration, into your party? And write that down. And then we're going to talk about what song, what music would you like to have played? If somebody was going to read a scripture, what scripture would you like? And if you can't think about those right now, that's fine. But just keep your thinking cap on. So one thing I bet you didn't realize today is we are actually going to design your party. We are going to design your celebration of life. We are going to design your funeral. We're even going to take a field trip today. We're going to take a field trip to the casket room. In front of everybody, they should have a sheet that's called Your Personalized Funeral Design Estimate. We're going to walk through this together today to design your funeral. What you'll also see in front of you is what's called our general price list. Now, one thing you may or may not know that the FTC has helped you as consumers is they have made a law that says every single word that we must have on here, every single funeral home must have the same wording, and they must itemize everything out. And it follows right along with how our price sheet works. So if you're going from funeral home A to funeral home B, you're able to compare apples to apples. Now, the good thing about Mr. XYZ at the funeral home today is he actually takes all of his prices, adds them up, and then he applies a discount. But what we're going to do first is we are going to go through each of these items and we're going to explain to you what they are and what the true costs of your celebration would be. The very first thing on here are the services of the funeral director and staff. And basically that includes, but is not limited to respond, to pick up you, the arrangement conference with the family, getting all the paperwork, our overhead, the obituary notice, planning the service, coordinating with the cemetery or the crematory or the vault companies as required. Also is basically our license, our insurance, our maintenance, just everything to keep this beautiful facility. And you can see here, the cost for that is $18.25. So, as long as you're going to have a traditional service, everybody write that on that line right there. Prior to this, we would have already discussed if they are going to have a traditional or cremation. And we would be advising them that cremation is just the means of disposal and that we would still be utilizing this unless they were going to do just a direct cremation. once we get through all of this, we would do section 1. Then we would take a break and we would either go to the casket room, an urn room, and they would take their personalized funeral estimate with them. And during that, they would write down the model and type of casket they would like, along with the vault. And then we would come back and we would discuss their cash advance items. When they come back is when we would have their food at the table, and then we would, while they are eating, we will discuss the cash advance items and run through that. Then we will have calculators placed at each of the tables, and they will finalize what their cost of their funeral would be. One thing I did forget is at the beginning of that, we would have a sheet or a piece of paper on each of their desks that would say, what is this going to cost? And they would write that down at the very beginning of the meeting, workshop, and then whoever has the price closest without going over would win a gift card for us. When they have completed their pricing, we would talk about what's your plan, and that would be this. And basically it's going to state that the funeral home plan has all yeses. And on this sheet, we would ask them to say the funeral home plan allows for multiple payments and guarantee at today's prices. And then we would end saying the next thing to do would be to complete your file. And they would write in here the date and the time that they have scheduled their meeting with me.